Hey, Alec Miller here, founder of Royals and Rogues, and today I want to talk about why we spent 3 years and thousands of dollars to create a 1-minute digital short film. Stick around. I founded Royals and Rogues 7 years ago as a creative agency doing the normal work, trailers, commercials, and so on. Over the years, though, I think we all noticed the same trends online. The lack of gatekeepers allowing anyone to publish whatever they want, the cost of cameras, equipment, and software getting so low that anyone can make Hollywood-level visuals at home. Things like the Punisher 3D challenges, Flow winning an Oscar, and the Digital Circus being picked up by Netflix. These are all independent 3D artists telling stories and getting massive global recognition. And pairing all this with a time when traditional media seems to be failing their audiences, either not telling the types of stories they want to see or just rehashing old formulas again and again, and it seems to give a winning success for independent artists, especially digital filmmakers. However, we've noticed a few limitations that are stopping people from telling their own stories, and that's what we've set to address with our own world and short film Taiko Decay. The first issue every artist is going to run into when trying to tell their own story is intellectual property, right? The universe you're going to tell the story in. It's very tempting to use someone else's universe. However, we've all seen the problems with that. Any creator online knows the story far too well. Brands will have a time period of letting people create freely, only for them to come cracking down with lawyers and cease and desists the moment they have a competing product. In the best case scenario, this is them recognizing your talents and bringing you in-house, and in the worst case scenario, it's you getting hit with a lawsuit. So while it's tempting to use someone else's IP to get access to their audience, as well as have a pre-built universe to tell your stories in so you don't have to invent everything from scratch, it comes with a massive risk of being told to stop, as well as you not actually owning anything you make. The second issue is kind of tied to the first, which is assets. The other reason you might use someone else's IP is you can use all their assets. You can take stuff from video games or models that people have uploaded online and use those to get a head start so you don't have to model everything from scratch and rig and weight paint every single character you want to use in your story. You can use third-party assets, which everyone does. I mean, we do it all the time. Places like Kitbash or Big, Medium, Small have fantastic assets. The problem with those is they don't really have a specific story they fit into. So you're left back with creating your own universe, but using someone else's assets and trying to pair those two things together to make sure they work. The other problem is all these assets are going to be generic. They sort of have to be in order to be used in many different universes. What this means is that they might look good, they might be high quality, but they're going to miss that personal touch that you would get if you used an actual IP, something with actual story behind it, informing all the decisions of a character's clothes, their designs, why they do what they do, and how they look. This can be beneficial for generic storytelling, but it really sucks when you want to tell a specific story and have people get attached to a character. The third problem you're going to run into as a digital filmmaker is community. When you're starting from scratch and you're not using someone else's IP, it means that you don't have a built-in community. You don't have a built-in group of people that are all interested in what you're doing. You don't have anyone to promote it. You can't just go to, r/Star Wars and say, hey, I made a cool short film. Instead, you have to build everything from scratch. Now, many artists have been able to do this, and kudos to them. That's an incredible feat of dedication and love and just sheer grit. However, not everyone has the ability to do that, and not everyone wants to do that. Not everyone wants to be a face of a company and make YouTube videos and be a talking head and have parasocial relationships with people online. Some people just want to make art and to tell stories, and we think that's amazing, and those people should be empowered. And yet there isn't really a way to get in front of a large audience without either building it yourself or leveraging someone else's IP. The other problem with not having community is not having co-creators. Not everyone's a modeler, not everyone's an animator. Being able to find other artists to collaborate with who can fill in for some of your skill set gaps is essential for telling any meaningful story. How I know about all these issues is I ran into every single one of them as we set out to build Taiko Decay, our own digital short film. This originally started as a Dead Space fan film. We were like, yeah, let's just leverage someone else's IP, tell an interesting story, and bada boom, bada bing, we have a great hit on our hands. In the process of storytelling, we very quickly realized we had totally outgrown the Dead Space IP. We were adding in stuff that had nothing to do with their story, our monster, our villain, our main character. None of them really fit in the Dead Space universe, and we really made something completely different. We also came to realize all the issues with using someone else's IP would be majorly problematic if this thing actually grew into anything. We wanted other people to be able to take and use our models for their own projects. We wanted to be able to sell merch around what we had built. And if we just used someone else's IP and never developed our own, none of that would be possible. And we ended up making many creative decisions that made this production much, much harder, but benefited by getting away from their IP. We haven't taken any assets at all from either games or movies or comic books. Everything is completely our own designs. The soundtrack and music we made ourselves. It's not stock. We didn't rip it from a video game. We made it completely from scratch. And then there's the lore. While you'll find similarities to any space horror genre, it's definitely its own thing. And I highly recommend checking out the website to see just how much it differs. But how does this solve the problems we just talked about? Well, it's what we're doing with Taiko Decay. It's what we're doing with this universe that is going to start addressing these problems I just brought up. Now, you can still make your own IP. That's completely allowed. You can still leverage someone else's. Or if you wanted to, you can use the Taiko Decay universe. We're taking inspiration from open source software, meaning that, sure, we're going to make the main story, we're going to have this be as cohesive and rule-based as possible, but it's open for you guys to split and do whatever you want with. If you want to tell your own story with Anne or with Marmaduke or with your own characters set in this new frontier universe, you're more than welcome to do so. This is something we really believe in. Artists should be able to tell stories in each other's worlds without fear of being sent a cease and desist. I think it's sort of gross and disgusting when someone comes up and says, "Oh, I'm really glad you were inspired by what I did, and it's so cool that you made something. It's mine now." Or worse, stop it. You don't own the idea of aliens attacking people in space. You don't own the idea of goblins and knights fighting. These are ideas and concepts that have been a part of storytelling for ages. I want to get back to the days where storytelling was open and free, where you would hear a story around a fireplace, you'd go to another fireplace and tell that same story with your own twists and turns, your own nuances to that story. That's how storytelling is supposed to be. And opening up Taiko Decay for anyone to use is the first step to get there. This solves this problem of wanting to use someone else's IP, not wanting to have to come up with every single rule and concept and where the universe came from and what the setting is and what's possible in that world for your own story. You can just simply read our lore, get inspired, and tell your own story within that universe. Part 2 of this is the assets. We're going to be releasing all of our assets under that same open source license. You're allowed to take them, remix them, reuse them for whatever you want. If you want to take Marmaduke, our monster, and use them in your D&D campaign to chase around your characters, go for it. We're going to have these 3D prints available for you to buy as a digital file and to print yourself, or as a physical print that I'll print here and ship to you. More on that in the future. But that's not all. We're not just selling the physical prints. We're also going to be giving you access to our fully rigged and weight painted models. That means Anne, Marmaduke, the lab, and whatever we develop in the future, you guys are going to be able to buy and take and use yourself. You can then remix that and even resell it if you want. It's up to you. You're completely fine to tell your own stories and monetize those stories and not worry about being sent a cease and desist, a shutdown letter, a copyright claim on your work. The third thing that we're hoping Taiko Decay will solve is the community problem. Again, building your own community from scratch is hard. We've been at it for years and ours is still very, very small. However, for many people, doing this, being on camera, trying to talk to an audience just does not come naturally, especially for artists and for creatives. We really want you to be able to use our community to find like-minded people and build a team. This is how we made Taiko Decay. I didn't do everything myself. We had a team of around 12 people, and everyone filled in different roles. I played in my strengths of art direction and simulations. We had other people working on concept art, rigging, the soundtrack, or anything else that I just really didn't have the skill set to handle. So I want all of you to be able to get that same access to a quality team built around a common goal. And our community is a great place to find that. Everyone in our Discord is already involved in 3D production in one way or another. And this is a fantastic way to get to know and meet other people that can complement your own skill sets. But that's not all. We want to give you access to our entire platform, not just as a member of the community, which we really hope you become, but as someone that gets promoted. You see, anything you make using our assets, using our IP, that's inspired by our IP, we're going to promote it. We're going to give you the same attention that we would give our own work. We want to take independent artists and give them a platform so that you guys don't have to do all this yourself. So you don't have to get on camera and try to be sociable and make viral videos and, do all that crap that none of you want to do. You want to just make stories and create cool assets and cool designs and cool animations and have those be brought before an audience. Our audience right now isn't large. I understand that. But the cool part is, as we grow, you grow. As you guys make more and more content within our universe, we're going to be promoting that content. There's even opportunity for you guys to come on board and make official products, meaning that we'll put your product in our store and you guys can get residuals from that. All this is still super, super early, I understand, but the potential is huge. And I just want you to play with this idea of what is possible if artists were to get together and tell stories in a shared universe with a consistent logic that they then all get the benefit from the growth of together. So that sounds great. That's an awesome pie in the sky promise that all these sort of, YouTubers and business owners, people will pitch all the time. Here's this great possibility. But what does that actually look like now and into the future? In the short term, this is mostly going to be breakdowns and tutorials. It's going to be me getting back to what made this channel. It's going to be me taking apart everything that we did to make Taiko Decay exist and showing you guys how to do exactly that. So how do we do the smoke sims as Anne runs through the forest? How do we get Marmaduke's soft body simulations and his fur to interact with everything, as well as his drool and saliva and all of his animations together? It's going to look like me talking about storyboards and concept art and how to get the best results out of yourself or your team in order to move production along. In the near future, this is going to look like expanded lore and more assets. I want you to think about these asset packs sort of like you would a Warhammer set or a Lego set. Some of them might be a location with multiple characters. Others are going to be smaller, just a single ship or vehicle. And some of them will just be a single character. But all of them will come with rich lore, explaining more about the universe, how those characters or assets or vehicles or weapons fit in that universe, what they do and what their functions are. And I want you guys to use these just like you would Lego sets. You can tell the official story that the lore dictates, right? That they sort of send you off in the direction of and in the same universe as Taiko Decay. Or you can take it apart, remix it, remake it into something completely different. Again, you're allowed to do whatever you want with the assets as we release them to you. However, they're not going to be completely generic pieces that don't give you anywhere to start from either if you want to join in the Taiko Decay universe. Also in the medium term, we're hoping that the audience starts growing with the tutorials and new assets being released, and with some time for you guys to play with these, we really hope that that community side really starts to come together. We might even have challenges to see who can make the coolest renders or small animations using these assets. The long term is where things get really exciting. I don't want this short film to be the only one we make, and I don't want Taiko Decay to be our only universe. The goal, again, just like Lego, would be to have multiple genres for you guys to tell the types of stories you want to tell in. So this would include a cyberpunk genre, complete with its own lore and backstory and working universe. Also a fantasy genre, where maybe you can have goblins and knights and wizards fighting each other, meaning you can avoid leveraging someone else's IP like D&D or Lord of the Rings, but also have a working magic system that you guys don't have to come up with from zero. We already have some ideas of the types of universes we can build, but again, this is going to start small with one universe and then grow as you guys grow with us. This would also mean more short films, more assets, more lore. You can see how this snowballs very, very quickly. The third thing we really want to do long term is, again, that community side. I think it's an essential part of growing this. And the goal would be to have something like a monthly or quarterly showcase where we can have compilations of your guys' work, your animations, your pet projects, all shown every month. A whole corner of the YouTube channel directly dedicated to celebrating the community, not just our fans, but our co-creators. Again, this doesn't have to be set in the Taiko Decay universe. You can take the assets and tell your own stories with them. The whole point of this is to keep it open and flowing for artists just to be creative without fear of being sent a cease and desist. So that's a grand vision, but we're going to be starting small. And that's specifically with this YouTube channel and videos like this. If you want to help us, if you want to help this thing grow into the vision that we just talked about, first and foremost, hit subscribe. Second is share this video. Share this with someone creative, with a buddy at your film school or someone else that is interested in tutorials. Get them hyped about this idea and the type of world we could build together. The third thing I'm going to ask you to do is to check out the Taiko Decay website. I think you're going to find a lot of very interesting lore on there, some cool stories. We even have a free digital poster for you guys designed by Adam Spizak. Taking any one of those actions is going to help us immensely. Thank you so much for watching to the end, and I cannot wait to see what we can make together.